Hello everyone, this is Matt with the College Funding Connection and welcome to part 4 in our mini video series. Today we'll be asking the question, addressing the question, which colleges will provide the best financial aid packages, especially the free money? And if you're not familiar with our company, here's some contact information for us. We're headquartered in Brunswick, Ohio, but we work with clients all over the U.S., primarily the eastern U.S. There's our phone number and our website, collegefc.com. We've talked about this before, but the real reason that we see so many differences and why so many families receive different amounts of financial aid is really on the planning. College planning is not just about saving for college. Although saving is critical, it's necessary. Where you save the money can make a big difference for your family. And college planning includes saving on the cost of college. So we'll take a look at some of the differences, especially between private and public schools, but especially the private schools today, and take a closer look and examine where those dollars come from. So remember, not all schools are the same when it comes to awarding financial aid. You'll find that some cover 100% of aid eligibility, very generous schools, while others may only cover 30% or less of what a family is eligible for. So being eligible for aid is the starting point, but ultimately the school is going to decide whether they're going to provide that aid to your family or not. So through the planning process, and obviously we do professional planning or provide professional planning services for many families each year, but we use a model called Your Best Strategy, and here are the first two parts of that model, the college selection process and then the financial aid assessment process. But with the college selection process, and these two are linked together very closely, there are three factors, key factors that we look at for each student. Admissibility, and we'll take a closer look at these here shortly. But admissibility is really the student's chances of getting admitted or enrolled at a particular school based on academics, transcripts, all those various test scores, all those various things that we look at. And you want to make sure that if you're investing as much time as you'll have to as a student, that you're looking at colleges where you have a realistic chance of getting into those schools. So if you have a 2.5 grade point average and you're looking only at Ivy League private universities, probably not a very good fit. That's an extreme example, but not a good fit, and you want to really focus on more realistic options. Then we have the fit, which is more than just academics. It's really exploring what the student is looking for, what kind of experience do they want to get out of a college, what kind of circumstances would they be most comfortable with. So the geography of where the school is located, is it in a city, is it in the country, how far away from home is it a conservative or liberal campus, all those different factors that you have to consider before committing to a particular school. And then finally, the price. Is the college asking you to come up with an amount of money that you're able to pay and you're comfortable with? Big difference, and that's what we'll take a look and compare some different types of private universities and colleges so you can see what that looks like. Then the next step is over on the right, the financial aid process. And really we're exploring two different types of financial aid in most cases. The first, merit aid, is really based on the student's academics, sometimes talent or ability if they're in the arts or even athletics sometimes. But those are merit scholarships, and those are available for students that meet those criteria. The need-based aid, the second piece, is one that we look at most often with families, and need-based aid is really based primarily in mathematics. There are a couple formulas which we've covered in previous videos, so feel free to take a look back at a couple of those videos where we get into more detail about the two financial aid applications that are used by most schools. The first is the federal method, which is FAFSA, Free Application for Federal Student Aid. The second method, called the institutional method, is used by a lot of private colleges and universities, called CSS Profile and Registration. Both are quite literally applications that need to be completed and are required to be completed by families. And then the results of those applications will tell you how much your family is eligible for in financial aid. So going through that process is necessary. Match that up with the colleges and kind of cross-reference the two so you get an idea of how much financial aid might be available at specific colleges. But the endowment money from the colleges is significant. Colleges actually control over 95% of the money that students receive each year. So that's roughly $60 billion that they have to influence and encourage students that they need. So they are trying to attract these students. There are carrots on the sticks, and for those students that they really want, they're going to offer money to. But some colleges have more to offer than others. And we'll take a look at some more specifics here. So here's a study that was done back in 2007, so it's a little bit dated, but still very relevant, by the National Association of College and University Business Officers. But below there, towards the middle, you'll see the ranked institutions. The first one is Harvard, all the way down to Duke University. But this is a ranking or listing of their endowment funds. And when we talk about merit scholarships and or need-based grant money that's provided at the institutional level from the colleges or universities, that's where most of those dollars come from, is from their endowments. So we see Harvard, and it's a shockingly large number, in my opinion at least. Their endowment, this was in '07, was at almost $35 billion. They have one of the largest endowments in the world. But even Yale, Stanford, Princeton, right down the list, they're still in excess of $10 billion in those accounts, all the way down to Duke, which still has almost $6 billion. So we'll even see a few public school university systems thrown in here too, with Michigan and Texas and a few others. But it shows you that there are significant dollars out there for students if they are eligible, and you want to make sure you explore the schools and see which ones have the money that would be available for your student. So one of the methods that we use, a program again called Your Best Strategy, but we were able to list colleges. In this case, I picked schools from New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, just kind of a random list of schools. But we can see here for this family the difference from one school to another. So I kind of picked some mid-range numbers for a student. But the first column here on the left, we see admissibility, which I talked about earlier in the planning model. And the admissibility gives us an indication of how likely it is for a student to be accepted or offered a spot at a particular school. So we see Drew and Fairleigh Dickinson at the top, and very likely, and then below that we see several likely schools. So if it's likely or very likely, we would consider these realistic options for this particular student. We then see the EFC method, the expected family contribution. Some of the colleges use the federal method only, the FAFSA, but we see several here that do use the CSS profile application as well. So there is a difference that we'll see here in a couple columns over in the EFC numbers. The FAFSA numbers, the federal numbers, have the family's expected family contribution at $13,867, where the other private schools are using the institutional method. The EFC for the profiles numbers is $11,528. So if you have seen the previous videos where we go through calculating this, we take the cost, subtract the EFC, and the cost, by the way, is basically an aggregate number including all of the costs for that school. Room and board, books, tuition, ancillary expenses, right down the list. So when we subtract the family contribution number, we get the need. That's how much aid a family is eligible for. Doesn't mean they're going to receive that much, but it just means that they're eligible for that much money. The next column over, we see the percentage that the school meets, and we see a pretty broad range from 100% for Colgate and Hamilton and Bucknell, all the way down to 65% for Monmouth University, so a big difference. And these are the things you want and need to know before you get too far into the planning process. Because if you're looking at a school that only covers 65% and you need them to cover 90 to 100%, or it just ain't going to happen as far as your out-of-pocket costs, then you might as well not look at the school if they're not going to provide the money that you need. It's just a waste of time. So we then see the estimated aid based on the math, all the way then over to the right column, the final net cost figure for this family. So what a broad range. For Colgate, Hamilton, Bucknell, Bryn Mawr, we're at $9,000 to $10,000. all the way up to almost $22,000 for Fairleigh Dickinson and Monmouth University. And these numbers are per year figures. So if you're planning with your student, wouldn't you want to know whether you're going to have to come up with $9,500 versus $21,000 per year? You're talking about, an additional $10,000, maybe $40,000 difference over the course of 4 years just by picking one school over another. So these are important numbers that you need to know. If you're not able to run these yourself, or if you don't have resources to do this yourself, I highly recommend you talk to someone before you get too involved in the planning process so that you know that you're looking at relevant school choices and options for your family. So one of the questions I get then frequently is, should I seek professional guidance? Well, we've talked about these before, but we've established some guidelines that we feel are pretty realistic guidelines, and they're very relevant as you start looking at financial aid figures. Sometimes home ownership for private schools can make a big difference in the final outcome for financial aid, especially if you've paid your house off, if you have a lot of net equity in your house. So that's one guideline or factor. Household income ranging from $60,000 to $200,000. You may think $200,000 is too high to qualify for aid, but it certainly is not, especially as we're looking at schools, private schools, ranging from $40,000 to $60-some thousand in costs. Savings in excess of $30,000, especially if that savings is outside of retirement accounts. You probably will want to run some numbers and look at specific schools to see if that has an impact on financial aid. And then if your student has a grade point average of 3.0 or higher, they may qualify for merit aid at a lot of schools. Doesn't mean they wouldn't qualify for merit aid below 3.0 grade point average. Becomes much less likely. A lot depends on their SAT or ACT test scores as well. So if you do meet one or more of these guidelines, then I would consider professional assistance to at least discuss options for your family. Doesn't mean you're committing with a professional and paying them money, but at least you'll know. And then you'll be informed. You can make some intelligent, informed decisions whether professional guidance would help your family or be useful for your family, or if it's something you can do on your own. And a responsible professional should be able to tell you that. If they don't think they can do much to improve your situation, they should tell you and say, hey, I can't help you, but maybe point you in the right direction so you can do some things on your own. So a few action items. We try to end our videos with some action items for families as you get into this process. The first one is estimate your family's EFC or expected family contribution. Various tools to do that, or talk with a professional that has the calculators and databases to do that. But I would run that, know that number early on, and estimate as best as you can. Number two, work with your student to create a list of relevant school choices based on academic programs, personal preferences, location, likes, dislikes, etc. So it should be a somewhat methodical process once you understand the variables that the student should be looking at. I'll tell you about our roadmap to success here in a minute. That's a useful tool for students as well. That's a free resource available on our website. But you want to have that list and understand the process a little bit more before you get into it. And then number three, try to estimate financial aid packages at schools of interest. So once you've identified schools, either use your own methods or seek out the assistance of a qualified professional with database resources to run college cost estimates for you. So discover which schools are likely to provide the most financial aid. So if you're interested in learning more about possibilities for aid, please do contact us for a free consultation. Here's our website, collegefc.com. A lot of good free resources there as well. Or you can just call us at 866-305-2321. That's our toll-free number to our office, and somebody would be happy to talk with you about your family's circumstances. And I mentioned an opt-in. This is a great resource. I encourage everybody to sign up for it. You'd have to opt in on our website, but it's an absolutely free report titled The Student Roadmap to Success. So it starts with freshmen, sophomores, all the way up to seniors. Gives a nice overview of the process. Again, it's free. You'll also be signing up for our monthly newsletter packed with a lot of good, useful information called the Planning News. And to do that, you can go to our website. You'll see a couple different pages where you can sign up for that. But the direct page is collegefc.com/newsletter. Again, that's collegefc.com/newsletter. opt in for it. You'll receive it automatically. You can download the Student Roadmap to Success and our newsletter there. So thanks for joining us today for the part 4. Part 5 in our series, we'll be covering here shortly, is avoiding the pitfalls when completing college financial aid applications. Make sure that they're accurate and on time. So hope you can join us for that, and until then, wish you the best of luck with your college plans. Thanks.